Hello everybody. We're going to do 5.1 today in Algebra 1. This is the ordering information here for this PowerPoint or video. You can get it in video or PowerPoint. And if you want the correction PowerPoint, let me know that as well by an email. There's our lesson 5.1, solving inequalities using addition and subtraction. Here's our Common Core standard here, teachers. We have 32 points in classwork and 14 points of note-taking. Here's the bell work for students to do as they come into your classroom. Or for homeschoolers, do this as a warm-up for this lesson. So solving inequalities using addition and subtraction, you've solved equations. You will solve inequalities. So you can describe desert temperatures on this one here, the big Y here, as in example 1, which is coming up. On a number line, the graph of an inequality in one variable is a set of points that represent all solutions of the inequality. To graph an inequality in one variable, use an open circle for these imperfect inequality signs here, and a closed circle for perfect inequality. The graphs of x less than 3 and x greater than or equal to -1 are shown below. Here's graph of less than 3, so we have an open circle there for that sign. And then the graph of greater than or equal to -1, we have a closed circle here for what's called a perfect inequality. These are the values that satisfy this relation here. Then our vocabulary here. Graph of an inequality, equivalent inequalities. We haven't gotten to that yet, so hang on to that. We'll get down further into the lesson to define this. Here is a first guided practice. The lowest temperature recorded in Antarctica was -129 degrees Fahrenheit at the Russian Vostok station in 1983. -129. Use only this fact to write and graph an inequality that describes the temperatures in Antarctica. We're going to use this axes here to graph that. And students, this is yours. The speed limit on a highway is 60 miles per hour. Write and graph an inequality that describes this situation here. Okay, back to the guided practice here. How do we graph that? Let x equal temperature in Antarctica. Here is the expression for that. -129, and then here is the graph of that. X is greater than or equal to -129, so here is the temperatures in Antarctica. A solid circle because we have a perfect inequality here. -129 degrees Fahrenheit. Notebook, this is a notebook entry here, page 6, and students, when you put that in your notebook, make a note of it. Page 6 of this lesson, write an inequality represented by the graph. So what would the inequality be for this graph here? The open circle means that -6.5 is not a solution of the inequality because the arrow points to the right. All numbers greater than -6.5 are solutions. So this graph here can be represented by this expression here. X is greater than -6.5. Write inequalities from graphs. So write an inequality represented by this graph here. What would the inequality be that is represented by this graph here. The closed circle means that 4 is a solution of the inequality. 4 is included in the solution set for that inequality. So because the arrow points to the left, all numbers less than 4 are solution. So this would be the graph. This is the graph that this expression represents here. X is less than or equal to 4, and it's represented by this graph right here. Guided practice, write an inequality represented by the graph. Here's our inequality. It's an open circle. And then students, this is your inequality here. And I threw this one in. This is the correct representation of this graph here. It's a perfect inequality because the circle is closed. And then up here is an imperfect inequality because the circle is open. X is less than 8. Maybe X is less than 8. You can put it on this grid too if you wish, along the x-axis. Here's our homework for lesson 5.1. Have a grader. Get a correction in PowerPoint, and then you can have the whole class grade this homework, teachers. To copy and complete the graph, x is less than -8, then draw a blank circle at -8, and you draw an arrow to the blank. So using this axis here, graph this expression. Write and graph an inequality that describes the situation here. Page 2 of your homework. Page 3 of your homework. Graphing more inequalities. Write an inequality represented by the graph here. Page 5 of the homework. Write an inequality represented by this graph here. So that we finished 5.1 of Algebra 1. And if you want to order this PowerPoint, email me here. If you want a correction PowerPoint to correct your homework, to go over it with your class, to have students grade it when they learn just as much as they do when they perform the homework, then get back to me about ordering a correction PowerPoint. And thank you very much.